very good afternoon to all our viewers and welcome to Wion Wallet. I'm Chethi Narula. We bring you a special on the recent demonetisation move announced by the government of India today. Let's take a quick look at the headlines at this hour. The Indian markets opened in red by approximately 1,300 points. In a move to curb the black money menace, Prime Minister Modi abolishes 500 and 1,000 rupee notes from November 8 midnight. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces a new series of 500 rupees and 2,000 rupee currency notes that will be brought into circulation. The RBI says they are all ready for all the challenges thrown in by the central government. All banks and ATMs will remain closed for the public for the next 2 days to come. Now, the demonetisation on move by the Modi government has kicked up political row. Congress has termed it as a financial emergency. The party has raised questions on the 2,000 rupees denomination as counterproductive and the ability of the banks to tackle the situation. Whereas the BJP hailed the move and yoga guru Baba Ramdev has also congratulated Prime Minister Modi. To understand and this is where the entire country has been taken by surprise on the downside. Now, the government has made this a tax evasion issue, and this is a step towards the financial inclusion and digital India that the government is talking about right now. And this is the right step, according to most market analysts, towards tax evasion and making sure that we meet the targets given to us on the fiscal deficit front as well. Now, withdrawals have been limited to 2,000 rupees a day. That's the update. And government has given a few exceptions as well. So you can't really go into hospitals, and in case of emergency, hospitals are also accepting your 500 and 1,000 rupee denominator notes as well. So nothing really to worry about. But of course, it throws in a whole host of inconveniences that we are going to be talking about on the show. Let's start off first by something which has impacted the real estate sector a lot. As we know that the real estate sector is where people park most of their black money, and the market was bound to tank with really no money to invest in. In fact, a little while ago, I saw the banking index was down roughly about 15% thereabouts. And it's a huge issue as far as valuations are concerned, as far as pricing is concerned, and the real estate market will kind of see a sharp decline. Joining us now is Irfan Razak, who's the chairman of Prestige Group, one of the largest real estate groups in Bangalore and South India as well. Mr. Razak, thank you so much for joining us on Wion Wallet today.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, let's start off by talking about how realty is really hit by this move, which came in yesterday by PM Narendra Modi. What do you have to say about the real estate sector, where a lot of black money really gets parked in?
At the outset, I must congratulate the Prime Minister for having taken this step. I think it's an amazingly fabulous step that has happened. We welcome this step, and it will clean up the entire system. And contrary to the belief that a lot of black money gets pumped into real estate, as far as the developers are concerned, listed companies are concerned, in the primary market, my home buyers are dependent on taking bank loans and buying their homes. And as far as we are concerned, I believe that it will not even make a iota of a difference. Obviously, maybe some people who have this sort of money, they would probably be pumping it into some agricultural land or also in the secondary market. But primary market, where developers are building and selling, base buyers are all dependent on home loans. and that's why the home loans have become such huge portfolio, and that's how the market is also fueled. And housing being a need, people do buy their first home and even sometimes second home, largely dependent on the home loans. And contrary to the belief that the market is going to tank, it will not. Firstly. Secondly, since we work with very, very thin margins, the question of even the prices dropping does not arise at this primary level. And if there is any correction at the secondary level, wherever there's an over-inflated price, there could be a correction. But overall, this is just the reaction is a little harsh. But I believe that even for people who have the citizen really doesn't have to worry. They can deposit the money in the bank as long as they have the sources for it. And overall, it's a good cleanup for the system. And I applaud the Prime Minister for having taken this step.
You know, you are heading one of the biggest real estate companies in south of India, and it's really refreshing to hear that you are welcoming this move that PM Narendra Modi has really come up with. Now, the basic question here is, with the reintroduction of the 2,000 rupee note, don't you think we're looking at a fresh pile-up of black money really building up in the next few years to come as well? I mean, I know it's a positive move. I know industry experts are welcoming this. But how difficult it is for us to even replicate the 2,000 rupee notes now? What do you have to say about that? And I'm going to come to you on real estate valuations in just a bit.
See, now, the thing is, what this move does, it will first of all fill up the banks with a whole lot of money. So the banks will be flush with money, and hence the interest rates also can drop. So that's the the positive side of this move. And secondly, you're talking about the 2,000 rupee notes. I don't think the government is foolish enough again to allow something like this to happen one more time. Once the money is all sucked in, it's like a vacuum cleaner sucking in all the cash from the system. They're not going to allow the citizens to draw out too much money, too much cash, and they will be insisting, like right from the beginning, the government and the finance ministry has been saying, now please use your banks to or your whatever ATMs and your Paytm credit cards and all of that for making your payments, and very little cash should be used for your expenses. And even for high value transactions, there have been a lot of restrictions, PAN card declaration and all of it. I think this era of cash is sort of ended, according to me. I only hope it doesn't start again in another form, in another avatar. And it's very high, since the government seems to be extremely serious on this, I don't think there'll be a recurrence of this over again.
You know, Mr. Razak, I'm glad you brought up the fact that it's going to be a cashless economy, and it is a step in that direction to make the entire country cashless. If you'd see, Korea's also announced the fact that till the year 2020, we perhaps are looking at Korea to become a cashless economy as well. A lot of South Asian countries are taking the step in this direction, and India has just been added to the list. Of course, it's an absolutely welcome move by the government, but one pertinent question really that comes to everyone's mind is that smartphone penetration is not very large in India, especially the tier 2, the tier 3 cities, the rural areas as well. Also, ATM penetration is low as well, and a lot of daily wage workers who belong to the below poverty line as well. It's very difficult for them to be a part of this digital India and this kind of financial inclusion, so as to speak. So while the move is great, don't you think the implementation of this is not really thought through as much as it should be?
See, I think we are looking at it sitting from an elitist angle. The daily wage labor doesn't need bags of money for his livelihood. All he needs is a few hundred or few thousand rupees which he spends in a month. And that if he can easily use his cash, and nobody is going to deny him that. And right now the rule is you can't draw out more than 20,000 rupees in a month. Now, daily wage labor maybe not even be making 5,000 or 6,000 rupees in a month. That's the level of our economy. 95% of our population is in that position. So if you're sucking out the cash from the system, if you're not allowing people to use cash for large transactions, I believe it's a masterstroke.
being elitist about this, but now the demonetization move rather really does not affect the big fish, isn't it? Because most of the money is really parked in Swiss banks. It's not something that is hoarded in cash by the elitist fraternity.
No, I don't think it's easier said than it's not. It's very easier said than done. I don't think all those things are possible because they've already clamped up on that also. So, you know, I think we have to start thinking positively, looking positively, and thinking in the right spirit rather than thinking in the crooked spirit.
Sure.
And if you take it in the right spirit and we are serious that, okay, listen,
Mr. Razak, sorry to interrupt you, but we've got a breaking coming in. The Finance Minister, Arun Jaitley, at this point of time is addressing the nation. Please stay with us. We're going to come to you very shortly, but let's listen in to what the Finance Minister has to say on demonetization at this point of time. Let's hear it.
देखिए वो शब्दावली है। मैं मानता हूं कि इस देश में इकोनॉमी कैशलेस हो, देश में लोगों को चेक या प्लास्टिक करेंसी के माध्यम से कार्य करने की एक शैली बढ़े, ब्लैक मनी किसी का मौलिक अधिकार नहीं है, ब्लैक मनी में डील करना कोई फंडामेंटल राइट नहीं है कि भाई हमारा तो एक आदत बनी हुई है हम करेंगे, पर उस आदत को बदलना पड़ेगा आपको। पूरे दुनिया में बदली है। जैसे ही देश विकसित होते हैं, डेवलप्ड होते हैं, तो वहां करेंसी की वॉल्यूम श्रिंक कर जाती है और चेक और दूसरे विकल्प आपके डिजिटल मोड से ज्यादा खर्चा होता है। उस दिशा के अंदर धीरे धीरे भारत जाए, ये तो देश की अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए अच्छा है। और इसके आप लाभ देखिए, आपको ब्लैक मनी से छुटकारा मिलता है, आपको भ्रष्टाचार से छुटकारा मिलता है, अन्य अपराधों के लिए जिनका मैंने जिक्र किया आपको उससे छुटकारा मिलता है कि उसके लिए जो कैश करेंसी अवेलेबल होनी चाहिए वो कम होती है। इसके अतिरिक्त आपकी बैंकिंग व्यवस्था के अंदर डिपॉजिट्स बढ़ते हैं, उनकी क्षमता बढ़ती है इकोनॉमी को सपोर्ट करने के लिए, उसको लेंड करने के लिए, और आपकी पूरी एक प्रकार से खर्चे की शैली बढ़ती है। और जिन क्षेत्रों में ये चलता था कि इतना कच्चे का होगा, इतना पक्के का होगा, इतना आप ऑफिशियली देंगे, इतना आप कैश देंगे, मुझे लगता है कभी ना कभी तो इस सभ्यता को बदलना था। और मैं मानता हूं कि प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का इसमें एक स्पष्ट दृष्टिकोण था कि मैं एक लैकलस्टर रूटीन की सरकार चलाऊं, जैसे 2004 से 2014 तक चली, केवल फाइल साइन कर दी और कुछ निर्णय हो गए। यहां देश के जनजीवन के ऊपर मैं प्रभाव डालने का प्रयास करूं, और जो उन्होंने ये निर्णय करना और कठिन और कठोर निर्णय भी करना जिससे देश को लंबे रास्ते लॉन्ग रन में बहुत लाभ होने वाला है, उन्होंने ये निर्णय किया है।
और बहुत सारे सेलिब्रिटीज हैं जो इसको वेलकम कर रहे हैं। देश के विकास की प्रक्रिया और खासतौर पर महंगाई पर आप क्या असर देखते हैं, क्योंकि ये मनी सप्लाई से जुड़ा मामला है?
देखिए कैश मनी सप्लाई तो कम होगी, वो तो स्वाभाविक है, और इसलिए जो ऑफिशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस हैं, ऑफिशियल ट्रांजैक्शन बढ़ेंगे, और जब ऑफिशियल ट्रांजैक्शन बढ़ता है तो लॉन्ग रन में इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स पे भी असर पड़ेगा और डायरेक्ट टैक्स पे भी असर पड़ेगा। अब इन्फ्लेशन पे कितना पड़ेगा ये देखना है। कुछ लोगों का मानना है कि रियल एस्टेट जो बहुत अनरीजनेबल हो गई थी उसके ऊपर एक दूसरा असर पड़ेगा कि वो थोड़ा रीजनेबल होगी। लेकिन जैसा मैंने आपको कहा कि ब्लैक मनी से चुक्ति मिलेगी, बैंकिंग व्यवस्था स्ट्रेंथन होगी, एक और इसका लाभ बहुत बड़ा है, हर राज्य को लाभ इसका होगा, हर स्टेट को लाभ होगा कि आपके जो रेवेन्यू की किटी है वो स्वेल करेगी। क्योंकि आज जो आप सामान खरीदोगे वो जब ऑफिशियली खरीदोगे तो आपने भी उस पर टैक्स दिया हुआ है, जो खरीदोगे वो उसके ऊपर भी टैक्स, चाहे कल जीएसटी हो या आज एक्साइज या वैट हो, वो सारा पेड होगा।
शायद आपसे आपके जरिए सीधे सुनना चाह रहा हूं कि अगर कोई बैंक के पास जाता है और बड़ी मात्रा में पैसा लेकर के जाता है और आपने कहा कि सरकार उस पर निगाह रखेगी, तो अब
आप बड़ा स्पष्ट है, आप बड़ा स्पष्ट है, आप कितना भी पैसा आपके पास हो आप बैंक में जमा करा सकते जाएं। पहले 1-2 सप्ताह थोड़ा कम रिप्लेसमेंट मिलेगा, लेकिन 2 सप्ताह के बाद 3 सप्ताह के बाद जैसे और करेंसी बाजार में आएगी तो आपको नॉर्मल रिप्लेसमेंट मिलेगा।
जो गांव में रहने वाले लोग हैं वो शायद थोड़ा सा ज्यादा घबराए हुए हैं कि ऐसा सरकार ने क्यों किया और बहुत कम टाइम दिया।
कोई घबराया हुआ नहीं है। ये सारे तर्क हैं कि ज्यादा टाइम देते ताकि इस कैश को हम कन्वर्ट कर लेते इस बीच में। ये सब तर्क जो दिए जा रहे हैं, और मैंने कुछ राजनीतिक मित्रों के भी कल वक्तव्य देखे, वो सिर्फ ब्लैक मनी को जस्टिफाई करने के लिए। जैसे एक तर्क दिया गया कि प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल्स को सुविधा दे दो। अब हम नहीं चाहते कि हर छोटे बड़े शहर में प्राइवेट नर्सिंग होम या केमिस्ट की दुकान या डायग्नोस्टिक सेंटर मनी चेंजर बन जाए इस प्रावधान में। अब जिस व्यक्ति ने वहां इलाज करवाना है, अपना चेक काट के दे दे। कैश देने की बजाय चेक काट के दे सकता है, और अगर बैंक अकाउंट में पैसा नहीं है तो ये कैश जो है उसके पास बैंक अकाउंट के अंदर डाल दे। सरल तरीका है।
तो सरकार का मतलब है कि आप कैशलेस इकोनॉमी की तरफ देश को ले जाना चाहते हैं। क्या इसके कुछ राजनीतिक असर भी आपको दिखाई देते हैं? बहुत सारे लोग ये समझना चाह रहे हैं कि आज चुनाव के मद्देनजर तो ऐसा फैसला नहीं लिया गया।
देखिए, मुझे लगता है कि इसका एक ही राजनीतिक असर मैं देखना चाहता हूं कि राजनीति और चुनाव प्रक्रिया भी इससे स्वच्छ होगी। हम राजनीतिक दलों के ऊपर भी इसका असर पड़ेगा। और आज तक हमारे देश के अंदर जो परंपरा रही है कि पॉलिटिकल फंडिंग इनविजिबल है, उसको भी तो लोकतंत्र में कभी ना कभी आपको विजिबल और लेजिटिमेट करना पड़ेगा। जब अटल जी की सरकार थी तो हमने इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में, रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल्स एक्ट में बड़ा कोशिश की थी कि हम चेक डोनेशंस की तरफ जाने का प्रयास करें। कुछ कदम उसमें उठाए गए हैं। मुझे लगता है इस निर्णय के बाद बहुत बड़े कदम उस दिशा में भी
कैबिनेट का फैसला लिया था सर, एसआईटी का गठन किया था काले धन पर। उसके बाद काले धन को लेकर तमाम आपने विदेश में जो काला धन है उसको लेकर कानून बनाया, देश में जो घरेलू उसके लिए विंडो भी दी। ये जो काले धन के खिलाफ आपकी लड़ाई है वो क्या माने कि अब एक निर्णायक मोड़ पे पहुंच चुकी है और यहां से कुछ
देखिए, आपने एक कदम एक दिशा में स्पष्ट था। एसआईटी बनाना, फॉरेन ब्लैक मनी का कानून बनाना, लोगों को डिस्क्लोजर विंडो देना, उस पे टैक्स लेना, बड़ी मात्रा में टैक्स लेना, पेनल्टी लेना, और उनको ईमानदार बनने का एक प्रयास करना। जो नहीं करेंगे उनको सजा होगी। प्रोसिक्यूशंस लॉन्च करना, असेसमेंट्स करना, एचएसबीसी अकाउंट्स में, लिंचनस्टाइन अकाउंट्स में बेनामी संपत्ति को जब्त करने का कानून बनाना। उसके बाद एक बहुत सक्सेसफुल आईडीएस स्कीम लाना जिसमें 65-66-68 हजार के करीब करोड़ रुपया डिक्लेयर हुआ। और उसके बाद आप इस तरह से आप करें जिस निर्णय से लोगों के ऊपर एक कानूनी बाध्यता हो जाए कि अब वो बैंकिंग ट्रांजैक्शंस के माध्यम से ही अपना जीवन आगे बढ़ाएं।
इंट्रोड्यूस किया, बहुत सारे लोग ये समझना चाह रहे हैं।
देखिए आपको 500 और 1000 के विकल्प में एक वैकल्पिक करेंसी चाहिए, और आप मार्केट को असंभव नहीं बनाना चाहते। तो उसकी जो वैकल्पिक करेंसी है, एक नया 500 का नोट होगा और एक नया 2000 का होगा। 1000 का नोट अब नहीं होगा। और इसलिए इस व्यवस्था तो चलनी है, लोगों ने खर्च भी करना है पैसा, और इसलिए कोई जाकर, लेकिन इतना जरूर होगा कि अब एक बार आपको बैंक में डिपॉजिट कराना पड़ेगा सारा पैसा, तो फिर उस व्हाइट मनी को ब्लैक करने में जिस पे टैक्स भी दोगे तो कौन सा आपका इंसेंटिव बचेगा।
अंत में आपसे ये समझना चाहेंगे कि इस कदम को क्या आप आर्थिक सुधारों की दिशा में एक बहुत सफल कदम मानते हैं, बड़ा कदम मानते हैं?
देखिए, मैं इसको बहुत सही दिशा का एक बोल्ड, जिसको बहुत पहले जिस कदम को उठाना चाहिए था, और इस देश के एक प्रकार से स्वभाव को बदलने वाला एक निर्णय, उस प्रकार का निर्णय मैं मानता हूं जिसका अर्थव्यवस्था पे लंबे अरसे में बहुत अच्छा और पॉजिटिव असर पड़ने वाला है।
और बहुत शुभकामनाएं आपको।
All right, there you go. The Finance Minister Arun Jaitley talking about this move of the central government on demonetisation, on banning the 500 rupees and 1000 rupee notes and wiping them off the economy. I believe we have a live phoner joining into this show. Irfan Razak, sorry we cut you off the last time because we cut into the Finance Minister really talking live. Mr. Razak, I'm going to stay with you. You were talking to us about the smartphones and the penetration levels and whether or not India is ready, and is a cashless economy really possible in terms of implementation, or is it going to take the government a really long period of time to make sure that we go cashless?
No, it's not impossible. It is definitely possible because, see, we were talking about the different strata of society. For the low end of the strata of society, the requirements and needs are very little and they really don't have that much of cash to spend. So there's no problem as far as they're concerned. Their needs will be met. And for the higher end of the strata of society, it will be a cashless society. In fact, I did hear the finance minister talking. And I think I was talking about the same thing, and I think he reiterated now we think things have to change. We have to look at it in a very different manner. And I believe this is a huge opportunity provided by the government. And if we all decide that we are determined to change, we are determined to clean up the system, it will be a new era in this country.
All right, Mr. Irfan Razak, stay with us. We're going to come back to you very shortly as we're tracking what happens really to the real estate sector with India going cashless and a step in that direction by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I believe we have Nikhil Gandhi, the chairman of Pipavav Defence, joining us live from Mumbai. Mr. Gandhi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, Mr. Modi has turned the political liability into a political success. Do you think this is a step in the right direction really to make India cashless?
I think first and foremost, it is important to understand that there has been a lot of counterfeit notes being, brought into the country by the Pakistanis and their nefarious design. I think this is a big step towards stumping those evil design. So I think it's a great idea. Number two, that the government did give the opportunity for the people to declare their black money and come clean and come into the mainstream. That would have been a big advantage for them. So I think those who declared are looking very smart, because those who did not are, they're going to lose a lot of money. So I think government did give an opportunity for the people to come clean. And at the end of the day, we have to set the system right. The fundamental change is very important for every strata of the society. So I think it's a brilliant move. It may appear in a short-term bit of a jerk to the people, but I think it's in the long-term, medium to long-term, it is a fantastic opportunity for our country to get into the new era.
Mr. Gandhi, you mentioned about the counterfeit notes being in Pakistan. Now, the entire South African region has this problem of black economy, which runs parallel. Even Myanmar tried to go cashless at one point of time. Korea has declared by 2020 they would like to go cashless as well. India has now made a step in the right direction. Now, this is an issue that the South Asian regions need to come together and tackle in terms of terrorism as well, to get rid of all the black money which exists in the market. Now, India as a standalone entity perhaps may not be able to do justice to this unless and until the entire South Asian region really comes together. What do you have to say about that, Mr. Gandhi?
First of all, what you are talking about is a geopolitical issue. I think India, on a standalone basis, is a large economy. It's growing. We have never looked back since 1991 from the time economic reforms introduced. We have come a long way from a $900 million foreign exchange reserve to $370 billion or so. So I think we have to play our own game. We have to look into our own requirements. And I think, of course, if we can all come together, nothing like it. But irrespective of anybody coming together or not, India has to move forward in the right direction. And I think this is a good step forward. And as I said, that until some people understand the real benefit, there may be some confusion, but I think it's a rock-solid step towards the benefit for every individual in this country.
Mr. Gandhi, before we wind up with you, the last question really now, the voluntary disclosure that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had announced earlier and the BJP government had announced, there the exchequer of course stands to gain. Now in this case, how much revenue do you think will the government will really be able to achieve on the back of demonetization? A lot of critics are pointing out that this may be slightly counterproductive to the economy in the short run, not of course in the long run.
See, India has a very strong parallel economy. It has been the, a way of life for many, many Indians. Things have to change. For example, in 1991, you couldn't import anything, and you couldn't spend the foreign exchange. You couldn't take more than $500 every 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. Today, look at this situation. I think it's a kind of a reform which was long awaited. So I don't think so it will have any ramification in medium to long term.
All right, Mr. Gandhi, we leave it at that, and we will come back to you in a short while to see how your colleagues and how the entire corporate fraternity is reacting to this move. Of course, the markets are not really doing well at this point of time, and markets are looking very jittery. So we've got market analysts lined up who will tell you what you can do with your money and how does this move really impact your wallet. But before that, let's take a quick break right now. Stay with us on Wion Wallet. I'll see you on the other side after the short break. Thank you so much for staying with us on Wion Wallet, and welcome back. Now, just before we got into the break, we were talking to Nikhil Gandhi, the chairman of Pipavav Defence, and of course Irfan Razak, the chairman of Prestige Groups, one of the leading real estate players in South India as well. Now, I'm going to go over to our guest, Nikhil Gandhi. I guess we have some sort of a issue in the phone line with Mr. Gandhi, and I believe Mr. Razak is patched on live with us right now. Mr. Razak, can you hear me? All right, we're going to get through to our guests in just about a bit. Now, in an unprecedented ED move to curb black money and corruption, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced, and we have mentioned this earlier, that there is a decontinuance of 500 and 1,000 rupee denomination notes with effect from Tuesday midnight, which is last night. Now, making these notes invalid really. Here is a report, and our correspondent Brinda Agarwal brings you the story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday added a lethal edge to India's fight against black money by announcing that the currencies in the denominations of 500 and 1,000 will be invalid Tuesday onwards. This move was announced in a sudden address at 8 p.m. that was televised across all news channels when the frenzy was otherwise with the US presidential polls. The demonetization of 1,500 rupees notes is a major assault on black money hoarders, fake currency and corruption. Experts say the decision to ban existing 500 and 1,000 rupee notes has economic logic, as the absence of large denomination notes will make it harder for people to keep black money in hand. PM also announced that new notes of 2,000 and 500 will be soon introduced. Banks, however, will remain closed on Wednesday, and ATMs will also not function on November 9 and November 10. The government, however, has clarified that the citizens will be able to deposit all notes of 500 and 1,000 at post offices and banks of their choice, and the public will have 50 days' time between 10th November and 30th December to deposit all notes of 500 and 1,000 after showing a proof of identity.
Thus, you will have 50 days to deposit your notes, and there is no need for panic.
However, government hospitals, pharmacies in government hospitals, airline ticket counters, bus ticket counters, railway ticket counters and petrol pumps will accept old notes till midnight 11th November. And Hillary Clinton's campaign manager is talking from United States of America. Good time now to break into that and see what he has to say. We're going to come back to demonetization in just a bit.
And we are so proud of her. She's done an amazing job, and she is not done yet. So thank you for being with her. She has always been with you. I have to say this tonight. Good night. We will be back. We'll have more to say. Let's get those votes counted, and let's bring this home. Thank you so much for all of you have done. You are in all of our hearts. Thank you.
Joining us now, that was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager speaking from the United States of America. Now we're going to go straight over to Samir Chopra, who is the chairman of Cybers Corporation, and he is also somebody who very successfully runs Remax operations in India. Now the reason we come to you, Sam, is because real estate is one sector which has taken a major beating, really. Sam, how do you see the lay of the land pan out as far as the real estate sector in India is concerned?
Chaiti, firstly, I think it's a very bold step by the Prime Minister. You know, it's something which needed a lot of courage and conviction, and he's shown both. So I'd like to say that the real estate industry per se is going to make, this is going to be the best thing possible for the real estate industry. Initially, there are going to be deep troughs. You know, there will be deep discounting properties. The cash is suddenly getting, exhumed from the system, so there is a vacuum that is created. So things are going to go down, but this will also be extremely buoyant for growth, because what's going to happen is suddenly you will have a lot of investments through banks, so home loans are going to increase. Prices are going to stabilize. As far as rentals are concerned, they're going to be stabilizing and actually going down a little bit. Homes are going to be much more affordable, much more practical, because what was happening was all the cash income or cash that was accumulated with politicians, bureaucrats, and businessmen was being deployed into parking. Housing was parking investments, or real estate was a parking asset, and therefore it was not a usable asset, but more like a parking asset. And the people who actually were the end users never got the right price, because there was always demand with somebody from cash. So that's going to be suddenly vacuumized out of this entire process, and you'd see a lot of affordability coming in. And with affordability, the real users are going to step into the market. the correction is, according to me, going to be at least 30%. 30% in the secondary market. As soon as that happens, while primary doesn't have enough much cash, but people will tend to go towards the secondary market, and therefore there'll be a forced correction, which will take place in the primary market also. The primary market is going to go down also by about 20%, because they won't have an option, because the demand is going to be more for secondary, and they have to match it, and therefore the prices will go down as well.
Now, Sam, you spoke about the correction setting into the market, which means you said 30% correction likely to set into the market as far as real estate is concerned. Now, do you think this also means that the real estate market today in India, on the back of so much black money floating around in the system, is overvalued?
It is definitely overvalued. If you look at the indices over the last 20 years, you'll realize it's completely overvalued. And, unfortunately, builders and developers, and therefore even sellers, were not interested in selling because there was this artificial smog, so as to say, which was, covering the entire perception or clouding the entire perception of individuals. And this is going to change that. And, as far as REMAX is concerned, or the real estate brokerage industry, the realtors are concerned, I believe that there will be more genuine transactions. Transactions will become transparent. You'll be able to know, so at this stage, even the real estate agents, the realtors, are actually getting their payments in cash, and therefore there was no reporting of that transaction. So they'll start paying taxes. We all will start paying taxes on actually what we are receiving, which is going to be through a check payment. So this is, I believe a lot of people tell me this is going to be short term. It's going to, first clear up and absorb the cash income, and again the parallel economy will come in. It may come in, but with the advent of virtual money, with online money and so on and so forth, I think the government put in enough controls to ensure that a reporting of transactions becomes a huge way of doing business. So it's, I think we've completely sanitized the transaction process, a big step towards the augmenting the real estate industry in the country. And I see, I used to tell people that industry is not going to grow till 2020, but I think, Prime Minister's just brought in such great things that in the next 6 months, you'll see some crazy movement in the real estate industry, and therefore it'll be maybe a month from now, it'll be the time to buy for anybody who has money and real use for real estate, and not just to park funds.
It's great news because you just rightly mentioned that the real estate pricing is going to become very attractive, which means it's going to get cheaper now. That makes housing affordable back again. This augurs down well, of course, for the lower income class bracket and the middle class as well. Now, this is something that the real estate industry, as players in the market, look at it as a welcome move, because obviously your profits will get impacted if the pricing becomes more affordable. So where does the real estate players like you and other builders stand on this front?
Let me put it this way. We are real estate brokers. We are realtors.
Right.
We're not developers. We're
Right.
not brokers. We're realtors. So as far as we're concerned, I know that there's going to be a short time where I'd play more of golf than do business, maybe for the first 1 to 3 months. But I believe, the market's going to bottom out to realistic and affordable pricing. And the salary sector, the employed sector, is so large in the country, and they've not been buying because they're completely anxious about where to spend and what's the right time. So they're the guys that are going to come into the market. The non-resident Indians that are saying that this market is artificial, because you can buy a huge bungalow in California for the same amount that you buy a small apartment in Gurgaon, as an example.
Right.
So they're looking at artificial pricing, and with this coming in and only check income, check expenses, check payouts, they're going to be more reassured and are going to come and invest into India. So Indian market, I think, is going to be extremely attractive for all segments. Even when you say luxury doesn't mean it's people who only have cash. All top HNIs, all CEOs and CXOs of different companies have a lot of money. and those are the people who are also looking at making investments in Czech only. And in fact, they couldn't do so because most of the builders or secondary home sellers would say that we want 30%, 40%, even 60% cash, and these guys couldn't give it. So they were hesitant buyers and went only to the primary sector. Now suddenly the primary sector has competition from the secondary sector because everybody can only take check, and these CXOs have enough money to cut a check and buy a property that they want.
Sam, very valid point made. Now, before I let you go and we move on to the markets and how they are reacting to this demonetization move by the Modi government, Sam, last question to you now. Land acquisition in India has been prohibitive, especially in the urban metropolitan cities like Mumbai. Where do you think the property prices stand as far as a place like Mumbai is concerned, where there is a demand-supply mismatch? What happens to the pricing in Mumbai at this point of time, which is one of the most overvalued markets currently in India?
Yeah, my personal perception is that the market is going to go down irrespective. You know, the demand is, in my eyes, artificial because a lot of parking money is coming in. So, you know, the funds that you use to park into real estate assets, that's what's being pumped into Mumbai, and therefore the artificial demand. That artificial demand is going to go. And I feel that is critical for us, because when the price goes down, affordability of the common man is going to increase, and therefore it'll, you know, that void is going to be covered by somebody else buying. So transactions, this is a great spur for transactions, irrespective.
But Sam, when you talk about transactions and when you talk about currency changing hands, how difficult it is for currency to change hands in a lower denomination, or alternatively, the government is introducing 2,000 rupee notes now. How difficult is it for us to come up with a parallel economy with 2,000 rupee notes as well? I mean, it's a bit of a double-edged sword unless and until there is some sort of a reform made in terms of its implementation and making sure that we can't replicate 2,000 rupee notes, or we can't have transaction in the lower denominators as well.
So the point is, you know, it's not about the 2,000 rupee. There could be a 10,000 rupee note, and you're right that the entire internal control systems within the government and the public dealings and transactions has to be very strong. I think the government's going towards it, but what was happening was that people were not taking the voluntary disclosure scheme seriously. And, you know, this is a involuntary voluntary disclosure, which is, or a mandatory voluntary disclosure, which has come about. So what's happening is, it's a great blotting paper which is soaking up all the surplus cash around and bringing you to ground zero. So, you know, when you turn the clock back to zero, or the meter down to zero, and you're starting again. So it's not going to have that kind of acceleration or galloping that would have happened, you know, in a normal circumstance. So I believe, you know, there will be room for a parallel economy to come up, but it'll be slower. And 2,000 or 1,000, it wouldn't have made a difference. In fact, 2,000 is not a great idea. I would have preferred if even the 1,000 was replaced also with the new 1,000, just like the 500 has been. That would have been a better way to cleanse the economy.
Sam, very interesting point right there, because that's something that we are debating at this point of time. The implementation really of this particular move is questionable, and we all have to keep our eyes very closely on the developments on this story to see what the Modi government does next to make sure that the efficiency in implementation is met with. Otherwise, it's just another announcement really, and we will keep our eyes, and Wion team will be watching very closely to what happens next. Now, let's shift focus now to the markets really. We're just on our live terminal, and we can see that all the major indices at this point of time are trading in the red. Of course, we have jitters coming in from the US elections as well. That could be one reason. And we have this demonetization policy as well, which has put the real estate sector down by 15% now. BSE Sensex is trading down roughly about 3 thereabout percentage. The Nifty 50 down by about 3.14%. And if you see all the Asian indices as well at this point of time, they've closed in the red, with Straits Times down 1.8% in trade today. Good time now for us to bring our markets expert into this discussion. Ashish, thank you so much for joining us. Ashish, welcome to Wion Wallet.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ashish. Now, you know, India is really seeing jitters as far as the stock markets is concerned today. Now, do you think this jitter in the market is coming on the back of the uncertainty to do with the US election, or does the demonetization move by the government of India has a role to play in the markets taking a bungee jump today in trade?
Right. Now, if we look at the markets, we have two important events which are happening right now. The first event, as everyone knows, that U.S. presidential election results, and the second one is currency demonetization. Now, if you look at the technical charts, the markets were going to react definitely. This was already known to the charts. So, if I look at the Nifty index, it has given us a signal that Nifty can test to a level of 8050 or 7975.
But does it find support at that level?
Yes. Today in the early morning session, we have seen that Nifty tested 8034 odd levels. So what I think is this was the reaction of the U.S. presidential election results, where Mr. Trump is seen leading in this race. So that is a reaction, and the recovery is also because of the second event, which Nifty has moved up by around 250 points. So we have a combination of both the events which are there. This is a very short-term movement which is happening. I believe that the volatility will continue till the time we have a complete clarity on both the events which are happening right now. As per government statement, pain in the short term and gain in the long term, I think I still believe that Indian economy will, has a very good headroom above, and this will definitely help us in the long run.
All right, stay with us. We have some update coming in from the US. Now, Donald Trump has arrived, and and we will cut to that in just about a bit. We've got the visuals coming in from US. Let's take a look at that.
You know, it's not a good thing in Washington when everyone says nice things about you. And I think that's been the situation with Judge Garland. He is a very well-respected jurist. He is not likely to be renominated, obviously, by President Trump if that comes about. He might not even be renominated by President Clinton.
Well, there you go, Donald Trump, who has arrived at the election headquarters, and we cut live to that. Now, we're going to go back to our chat on demonetization. And Ashish, we were talking about the Sensex and the Nifty and what levels do they really hold fort. Now, the next question really is the jewelry market in India. Now, with the demonetization scheme and 500 rupee notes and 1,000 rupee notes getting out of the market, what happens to the entire jewelry industry, which has a large amount of black money really parked in?
Yes. Now, if we talk about the gold-related sector, which is listed in the stock markets, definitely these companies will have an impact in the short term. But the stocks which are there in this particular rate will have a better. I think this would be a buying opportunity. All the stocks in real estate as well as gold-related sectors, these stocks have corrected a lot. I am not suggesting that one should invest today itself, but definitely this will be a very good opportunity to invest more in this kind of stocks, because over a period of next 6 to 8 months, we will be seeing a very good momentum, a positive momentum in these sectors again.
All right, thank you. Leave it at that. Ashish, thank you so much for joining us. Now, the entire team will be keeping a close eye on this story, and we will be tracking the demonetization move by the Modi government very, very closely. Time now for us to wind up, and unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today on Wion Wallet. I'll see you shortly. Thank you.